So I had a conversation with Bruffstar, the founder of Trio, the new marketplace that's coming out in a couple weeks. He's also the founder of Satoshibles, the founder of the inscription service OrdinalsBot. It was such a great conversation, and I edited a lot of it, but I tried to keep the essence of it as much as possible. When the conversation ended, I actually stopped recording, and the conversation kept going on, and it felt more natural and fluid, and I wish I had kept that. Unfortunately, I didn't. So hopefully in the future, I can bring him back on because he's done so many things. I think he's one of the goats in the ordinal space. Just watch the entirety of the conversation. It's very interesting. He shares a lot of alpha and what he's been involved in as well. I think you'll enjoy it. Ciao. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Really good, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, we finally meet.
Yes. It's been a long time coming. For sure.
Yeah, I love your accent. It reminds me of Sean Connery, I guess.
Yeah, I get that all the time. I think Trevor Owens from the Ordinals ecosystem, he calls me the Sean Connery of Bitcoin, which I'm not too sure about how I feel about that, to be honest with you. Like, he's a bit of a womanizer, so I don't know. Like,
oh yeah. Do you prefer train spotting?
Yeah, it could be. Then also, it's not a great role model, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think you can get a good role model out of Scotland, man. But I'm going to set the bar. I am who I am. So
that's awesome. So yeah, let's get right into it. How did you start Satoshibles? I know it's my first NFT project. Yeah, it's the one in the back here. When I first saw the art, I was completely like enamored, obviously, because of the lore and stuff like that. But yeah, so what's the story behind Satoshibles and how did you get started?
It's been a journey now, to be honest. I mean, back in I was deep in DeFi summer and rug pulls were aplenty, basically. And by the end of 2020, people started talking about these NFTs, and projects were starting to like give people NFTs if they participated in their token or whatever it was. And I remember CryptoKitties was a thing back in 2017, and then, so I knew what NFTs were. But the NFTs that these DeFi projects were giving out were really bad. They were like really, really bad NFTs. And I thought, well, if NFTs are going to be a thing next year, then maybe proper art will be the meta and it'll be proper collectibles. And little did I know I was right, because obviously then you had Bored Apes and all these amazing projects come out with massive IPs, and people then started looking back at like CryptoPunks and really bringing them back to life. So I was really like excited about all the fun things that were happening on that side, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll give it a try. I've got some cool ideas, and I always loved the lore of Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto, and nobody knows who he or she was. I just loved that kind of a mystery there. So I wanted to build the collection around about that, but I'm not an artist, so I had to find an artist, and I found one of the best artists I know online, basically, Ayub, who's still with the project to this day, but is super young, amazing comic book artist, basically fit that style that I wanted. And then so end of 2020, we just went to work basically, and I started writing a smart contract, and I started conceptualizing what the artwork should look like, and he can draw anything, so we just went back and forth and made a whole bunch of traits, and then I generated the collection, and we launched it in June 2021, so it was right at the perfect time, and it minted out in the whole weekend. It was the craziest weekend of my life, man. I quit my job the next day and went all in, basically.
What were you doing before, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, web design. So I'm a web designer by trade, man. So
damn. So it minted on Ethereum, and then we bridged to Stacks. When are we moving to Ordinals?
Yeah, it's definitely on the roadmap because it makes this total sense. But for the listeners who don't know, we launched on Ethereum, a Bitcoin themed NFT, I must say, on Ethereum, right, which is kind of weird. And then when I heard about Stacks, basically, I thought, okay, this is cool. It's like Bitcoin adjacent, and it's got an NFT community itself, and I created an NFT bridge basically that allowed you to switch back and forth from Ethereum and Stacks, and that went pretty well, and we got like 30% bridged over, and so that was pretty cool. And then Ordinals came along and really cemented home for me what a Bitcoin digital collectible can be. So I went all in, and that's what led me down obviously the OrdinalsBot road. And then now me and Byron, other kind of co-founder now I brought on for Satoshibles, have been planning to like bridge it all over and just getting it all over there.
Awesome. So I'm still on Ethereum. Does that mean I can just wait for Ordinals? I don't need to like bridge to Stacks first, right?
That's got to be the idea, yeah. So whether you're on Stacks or Ethereum, it doesn't matter. You click a button and then you'll be able to claim the ordinal version of your Satoshable, basically.
Okay.
And we're going to pay for it all and everything. We're going to pay for all the minting up front on the ordinal side, so no one has to pay for the minting and all that good stuff. So
I'm super excited because I am incredibly bearish on anything that's not on Ordinals.
Yeah.
So I checked out Trio, the new marketplace, and it looks pretty awesome. I know you guys are launching in like 12 days now. What's the connection between OrdinalsBot, your other marketplace, and this one? Like, why launch a separate marketplace?
So OrdinalsBot wasn't a marketplace. We started an inscription as an inscription service basically. So to roll it back a little bit, as I mentioned, I was deep in stacks and keeping a close eye on what was happening in general on Bitcoin, on layer twos and on layer one. And I stumbled upon Casey Rodimer's podcast at the end of 2022, Hell Money podcast, and just like went down the rabbit hole a little bit about what he was doing, and I really connected with ordinal theory. I just think it was cool idea of making like fungible satoshis on Bitcoin non-fungible. I thought that was just such a cool concept, and then the fact that you can put data or files and images on top of that was like, wow, these are really, really cool. So I looked into how do you do it, like how do you actually create an ordinal, and apparently you need to run your own Bitcoin node, you need to run the ordinals index. So it was a technical hurdle for normal people like me trying to make these digital collectibles. So I reached out to a Bitcoin friend who I work with. He actually helped me create the NFT bridge from Ethereum to Stacks. And I said to him, have you heard of this Ordinals thing? And he was already building the back end of OrdinalsBot already. So as I said, listen, let's put a front end on it. Let's launch the thing. And the Ordinals protocol launched in January 2023, and then we launched in February 2023. So OrdinalsBot was the first ever like service in the space, the first ever tool in the space before even the wallets came along. So we were really there at the beginning of it all, essentially. And we launched the first ever, let's call it, inscription service, basically, which was pretty cool at the time. And then we managed to capture quite a lot of market share then, obviously being the first. 40% of all inscriptions flowed through OrdinalsBot at one point in the early days. And we really empowered a lot of like those early launches and stuff as well. So basically OrdinalsBot since February last year has been growing just that market, basically just growing that inscription service out, and it was a launch pad as well, and we've just been doing a lot of white glove service for people. We did Runestone and Pizza Ninjas and all those cool projects we had our hands in some way, but very conscious that marketplaces are like the other side of that story, right? You've got the creator tools and you can make these things and you can launch them, but where is the secondary sales coming in? And that was something that we were missing from our like business. And then obviously that gap got filled by like Gamma and Magic Eden, and that was fine. They learned a lot and they kind of built their own ecosystem there, so that's fine. But we wanted to just give how would we do a marketplace was the question that kept popping up, and something I was thinking about at the beginning of this year. And about 6 or 7 months ago, basically, we made the decision to go all in and just say, let's just do a marketplace and let's try and launch it by the end of the year. So we just put everything on pause from the inscription side, and then just the whole team, top to bottom, just focused on launching the Trio marketplace. And it's been really good. We've worked really hard for the last 7 months, basically, and we're about to launch it in a couple of weeks. So excited about it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very excited. When I saw it, I was very impressed with the marketing strategy that goes on behind it. But I was wondering, why not include in the lottery some other projects like OMB?
So we do, yeah. The thing is, actually, we've already spent over a Bitcoin on prizes, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so we've got Pizza Ninja, we've got the puppet that's always on there right now, we've got a Node Monkey, we got, what's the Angels one called? The Based Angel?
Based Angels, yeah.
Yeah, we got a Based Angels. We didn't get an OMB yet, but just to say that the whole point of Trio that we wanted to do was like, when you've already got competitors in the space and you're building a product where you know you're coming into the market with 2 or 3 product competitors already there, you have to ask the question, what are we going to do differently, right? We don't want to just launch a thing that's just the same as anyone else that's already out there, because it's really, you're just setting yourself up for failure then. So one of the big questions we had at the beginning was, what makes our marketplace different, basically? And we asked the team, and 2 things really shone out. But basically, one was we want to offer something different than just PFPs. Let's try and look into real world assets. Let's look at higher end collectibles and digital like assets. And that's something we're really passionate about bringing. And we're already bringing gold to Bitcoin. So we did real world asset gold. So that's coming to our marketplace. And then also like high end collectibles, like we're bringing Elvis to Bitcoin as well from the actual Elvis estate. So I'm super passionate about IP and real world assets, and I want to build a marketplace around about all of that. And the second thing that stood out in terms of what we want to build is we want to make it fun, and we want to make it a place where people come every day just to see like, what's the next thing they're giving away. And so that's something I'm passionate about as well, because then it's that's why we're here in Web3, man. We want to have fun, we want to like gamble and do crazy shit, and like that's what I want to build into this marketplace as well. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing the differentiators, because I was wondering what makes Trio unique compared to the other marketplaces that currently exist, and me being the most obvious and biggest one. So what's up with the name Trio?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually launched our token before we launched the marketplace. So that was in response to us we went to Taiwan last year, at the end of last year, for the Taipei Blockchain Week. It was also Sora Summit, who are one of our investors. But anyway, we got invited over there. Me and the team went over, and we were just blown away by the Asian community, basically, like just their hunger for like tokens and just that degen nature and everything. It really did blow us away compared to like what we were seeing over here. So we made the decision there and then. It's like, you know what, actually, if we launch the token now, it might be a really great thing to just like connect all of our products together and just like add fuel to the fire and things like that. So we decided at the end of last year to launch a token, and then it was on me to find the name for the token, basically. And OrdinalsBot as a name is not easy to find a token for. It's a really long name, first of all, and BRC20 was the only protocol at the time. Runes wasn't out yet. I wanted to try and find a ticker. It's a 4-character ticker. And OBot was taken, and Orbo sounds really weird, and different things like that. So I basically just started to search from BRC20 for all of the names that are 21 million supply that didn't have any minted yet. And then I just looked through it and pulled out words. I wanted it to be a word, not just like a random arrangement of characters. Just it had to be a word. So we had a short list of words that we liked that were available. And Trio just stood out. I liked the sound of it, and it was like, obviously it's related to 3, and then you've got Web3, and it just all connect. We just liked it as a team. Thought it had potential. There's a cool story to tell about how we actually minted the BRC20 as well, because as BRC20 has the fair launch mechanism, where when you deploy a ticker, anybody can mint it. Basically, that was the really cool thing about not only BRC20 but also Runes has the same mechanism where it's like a fair launch. But when you're trying to build a utility token, you want to have the full supply, because maybe you want to do team tokens, investing for investors, and treasury, etc. So you have to mint the full supply. And Trio, the name, was already deployed by someone in February 2022, but nobody had minted any of it yet, but the thing was out there. So I said to the team, if we start to mint this thing, people will see and then they'll mint it as well. So we kind of need to do it all at once. So in the same time, we were also having conversations with Marathon, who's one of the world's biggest coin miners, and they just released their Slipstream product, basically, where you can take over whole Bitcoin blocks. So I basically said to the team, let's just get a block from Marathon and mint the whole token in one go. So that's what we did. We took the first ever Slipstream block from Marathon. We took that one, and then we stuffed it with BRC20 mint transactions to basically mint the whole token in one go. So if you look at the Trio token and then look at all the mint transactions, they're all happening and within the same second.
That's crazy.
So it's pretty cool, man. Yeah.
Damn, how much did that cost you?
It was a pretty penny, to be honest. But the fun thing was, that was my concept that I said to the team, and my team is as crazy as I am. They just said, let's do it. But when we actually filled up the transaction on the block, it only took a small portion of the actual 4 megabytes that we had to play with, because a Bitcoin block is 4 megabytes. And these BRC20 things were quite small. So what I did was I said, okay, let's fill the whole block with other stuff. So I created like a 500 kilobyte like looping video file, threw that in there. Still wasn't enough. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went away and I just generated like 25,000 HTML files, basically, which point to a JavaScript that we could upgrade later. So it's a collectible, but it's just a placeholder right now. So I said, here's 25,000 files, like stuff as much as you can into the block and then leave the rest. So we ended up getting about 5,300 stuffed in the block, basically. So that block had 5,300 collectibles, a 500 kilobyte video file, and then the Trio token fully minted all in it, basically. And it cost us a Bitcoin and a bit, basically. It cost us. Yeah.
Damn. Did the original creator of the Trio token get to keep any?
I've not heard any. I don't know who it was. It's anonymous. And I'm sure he's a holder now potentially. But it's interesting. During my research, I noticed there's actually quite a lot of those tickers out there that people deployed and never minted. So it's strange, but hey, that's the way it goes. It was the fair mint mechanism, I guess. So I fairly minted it all in one go, but
That's awesome. Yeah, because I was confused why it wasn't a rune.
Right.
Yeah, but now that you explain the
well, it's still a question we asked, obviously, because I think even Casey kind of launched that blog post in 2023. Basically, it was quite early on, so we knew about runes were coming, basically happening already, and we made the decision to front run it a little bit because we realised it might be quite difficult after the mania to get listed on exchanges, and BRC20 was already on the exchanges, Ordi was there, etc. So it worked out like that, where we managed to get on Gate and Mexi and BingX and all those ones. We were on all the exchanges before runes even launched, so I think that was a cool head start. And our thing was like, listen, we can always migrate to a rune, that's always available, and I've minted minted like the OrdinalsBot Trio rune. I've got it in my wallet just in case we ever do that. But honestly, like there's no plans to do it right now. Like we launched the BRC20, we got out to the market, runes came along. OrdinalsBot has built runes tooling. We're big advocates of runes. We love runes. Like we launched also a test rune called Short the Dollar. That was us. We launched that through our platform just as a test. So there's like, we love runes, but you know, BRC20 is out there and it's on the exchanges. And also we're Mo's one of our advisors. So we have great relationship with Domo and the L1 Foundation that he's built. And that's what made me bullish on BRC20 because there is still activity happening on it. People are they're still building and moving that protocol forward. So I'm still looking at what are they doing? What is that going to look like in 6 months? Are they got to be able to bring programmability there? Is it got to be improvements and things like that? So it's not a dead standard yet. Runes has captured 99.9% of the limelight for sure. But like, I'm the kind of guy that when everyone's looking right, I'll look left and build this BRC20 marketplace, and then maybe it kicks it off. Because don't forget, Asia has a massive amount of BRC20 in their bags, man. Like, so they're just waiting for something to happen. So
yeah, I think Trio is the only BRC20 token I hold. So
oh, nice. There you go. Tells you a lot. Nice.
Yeah. I was wondering if you guys would ever migrate to runes, but that totally makes sense.
Door's always open, right? Like it's like, but there's no reason right now, like a big reason to do it, because the liquidity is there on the exchanges. Like everything's working fine, and like I said, BRC20 is not quite dead yet. So
yeah, not yet. I do know the runes market cap just surpassed that of BRC20s, right?
I think it went for a while, but maybe it's back down again. I don't know. I tweeted recently about it. Like, but you know, as I say, it is still a lot of liquidity there, and there's still a lot of people holding BRC20s. So all it needs is a really cool marketplace to come along and pick up that ball, and maybe it's got to be us at Trio. I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Hopefully. So you guys minted the largest inscription at the time, the parent inscription for Runestones. So how was that experience, and how was working with Leonidas?
He's an absolute legend. Like I've knew of Leo since the Satoshibles days. He was a big guy on ETH back then, and I've always been following his, like, he's always been doing like these so-called NFT archaeology hunts, right, where they'd find these NFTs from 2015 and stuff and like revive them, and Crypto Skulls was one. So I've always been a fan of Leo, and yeah, he's doubled down on Ordinals, and he's one of the biggest advocates we've got in the space, basically. So I'm really bullish on like Leo and Leo's passion for Bitcoin and Ordinals now. So I'm happy now that we managed to have a dialogue, because I've been one of the earliest like businesses in the space be able to talk to Leo just because of his interest in Ordinals.
Nice.
And then he phoned me basically one day on Discord and just said, yeah, I'm thinking about doing something. Do you guys want to be involved as an inscription partner? We want to do the biggest airdrop on Bitcoin. It's a pretty crazy idea, and by the way, we're not paying you anything. So you need to do it for free. And as I mentioned, I think a couple of times now, I'm crazy, right? So I'm just like, let's go, let's do it. So it was a community effort, the whole of Runestone project. So OrdinalsBot didn't take any profit from that. It was just they just took the chain fees, and Leo raised the chain fees from the community. And then we just used their services and their time and our kind of knowledge to do it. And it was a cool experiment, man. Like, it was, the runestone itself is a beautiful piece of art by Leo Calliard, the 3D runestone. I've now met Leo a couple of times, and he's a great artist. And then you've also got the parent of that is from Far, right? The amazing Taproot Wizards artist, right? So, and they were both 4 megabytes. So Runestone has 2 4 megas on it, basically, which is really cool. And then he basically made an allow list, which was anyone who held an ordinal since the beginning, 3 or more ordinals, I think it was, or something like that. Yeah. Not BRC20 JSONs, but actual images or whatever, got on this allow list. So there's 112,000 people on the allow list that he gave to us. And then we basically had to just make copies of the runestone and airdrop it. So I'm happy to say every single one got sent flawlessly. There was not one address left behind. And yeah, it's just something we're really proud of. It's like a little bit of a stamp on our history of like, we did that, and we can forever say we did it flawlessly, and just happy to get out there, because obviously Runestone, I mean, it went absolutely bananas, right? The Runestones themselves went like a higher market cap than the Bored Apes at one point.
Yeah.
And then Dog Token, is the result of the Runestones, has been obviously all over the news. So I'm just super happy to be involved with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's history now. Do you think Dog will get listed on Binance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Binance is a strange one, right? I mean, I remember waking up to the news last year, Binance launches an inscription service, and I'm like, okay, shit, well, that's a good competitor for us to have. And then I checked out their website, it's kind of getting, it looked like our UI as well. Like, it's weird that I made this UI over a weekend, really janky, and it became the inscription UI that everybody uses. It's really quite weird with the fees and the drag and drop stuff. It was like, okay, I guess I made a UI that everyone copies. That's pretty cool. And then Binance launched an inscription service, and they had BRC20s at one point as well. And then they just scrapped it all. They just said, no, it's not for us, and they've took it down now. But runes are like definitely capture the degen's attention in terms of meme coins, and obviously exchanges are heavily looking at all the meme coins right now. So I think it's just inevitable that Dog will be on Binance, and then it's like it really will go to the moon then, basically.
Yeah, I really hope so, because I'm super bullish on Dog. I don't know which runes you're most bullish on, but yeah, for
Dog,
me,
yeah,
it's
same.
oh, awesome. Yeah, I think it's the most accessible to the mainstream. So it just makes sense. Doge did really well, and on Solana, it's Bonk, right? So I feel like when people see a dog with a Bitcoin hoodie, they're just going to be like, this is it. Right.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the ordinals in general are going to be really popping off next year when people start to realize the kind of value of what they can get on Bitcoin compared to other chains. So.
Which projects are you most bullish on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm deeply integrated now with Pizza Ninjas. So that's another one, like similar to Runestone. The founder, obviously, Trevor Owens. I've known Trevor for years. Just to dial it back to Satoshibles, when I launched Satoshibles in June, I made the website and everything, and I launched this, I deployed the smart contract, and people started minting. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually working. I see the mints coming in. And then a few hours later, someone minted 50 Satoshibles for 1 Ethereum. And I'm like, I just blew my mind. I'm like, holy shit. And then it was Trevor Owens. So he slid into my DMs. He's like, yo, bro, these are cool, but they belong on Bitcoin, not Ethereum. And I'm like, Bitcoin doesn't have NFTs. And then that's why I got introduced to stacks through Trevor. So I've knew Trevor for a long time. And then I made a Medium article last year about recursion, because I really loved, like, I got it right away. I thought recursion is the future, and got all excited about it and made a Medium article. And Trevor basically DM'd me, said, this recursion thing, I think it can work with a project I'm thinking about. Can you help me? So that's when I got on the Pizza Ninja bandwagon. And then, 6 months later, we launched it. But I ended up doing like the menu in Pizza Ninja and the animation editor and the resizing. And I think that was all me. I did all that code for Pizza Ninjas. So Trevor calls me the uncle of Pizza Ninjas. So, and now we're full circle again with Pizza Pets is upcoming from Trevor. And OrdinalsBot's completely powering the back end inscriptions for Pizza Pets. And I'm working on Surprise as well with Trevor. So it's going to be a kind of newsworthy event we're working on as well, which is pretty exciting. So
nice. I'm super bullish on Pizza Pets. I think the concept is amazing. I am wondering about the timeline. I'm guessing it's real soon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's imminent then. I'm guessing. Trevor is definitely a positive force in this space. I wish we had more people like him. I had no idea you were that involved in the background.
Yeah, honestly, I've had my hands in everything, to be honest with you. Like, I've been all, because I get super passionate about it. Like, I'm just bullish on Bitcoin digital collectibles, right? Like, these are not just JPEGs; they're like actual on-chain digital collectibles that you can make interactive, and you can tie it into the blockchain with when you talk about rare sats and things like that. It's like, I'm super passionate about it. So, and OrdinalsBot honestly has like, our BD funnel is just like jam-packed with cool stuff, basically, and that's all got to get funneled through to Trio as well. So
yeah, I'm definitely still bullish on rare sats. I think rare sats don't get enough attention.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy how underutilized they are. Where did you learn how to code, and how long did it take you?
Yeah, my background's actually in design, so I studied like UI design way back in the day in college and university. So I'm a designer actually by trade. And then the problem with designs are that you can't click on them, right? So like just self-taught web design since like the last 20 years basically. So self-taught web developer, and I just like equal parts passionate about design and code basically. So that's one of my strengths, is that I can design and I can code, which is not kind of normal to have both usually, or one or the other. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I tried learning how to code, and man, it's tough.
Honestly, ChatGPT nowadays, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good at actually like reading code and finding bugs and things like that. So it's, I think that I had to use like tutorials and stuff back in the day, but now you've got like a actual intelligence that you can like talk to, and hey, you can say, hey, teach me about CSS, and it'll like break it down for you and things. Whereas I had to learn it the hard way. So I think nowadays it might be a little bit easier to onboard yourself with coding and stuff, but highly recommend it, like I said, because it powers the web, obviously. And now these digital collectibles in Bitcoin, you can essentially use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then you've got a really cool digital collectible. That's what we've been using for Pizza Ninjas and stuff. So.
Oh, nice. Did you have to learn Python at all?
No, not at all. No, so specifically for the ordinal side, it's genuinely just HTML and JavaScript. So
okay.
It's really powerful, considering that powers the whole web, right? Now you can take all that power and put it into a collectible on chain. Like, that's pretty powerful.
So before we close, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any alpha you'd like to share? Anything we should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Trio.xyz is the website. Right now is a pre-launch app, like you mentioned, where you can go and test out an XP system that's there. You made a great video about it a couple of days ago, so definitely check that video out. And that gives you a taste of what the XP system will look like. All that's getting brought over to the actual marketplace, the reward system with the points and everything. And then obviously it'll be an actual marketplace where you can search for projects and buy and sell and list. But yeah, we're looking at auctions, we're looking at doing additions, we're looking at really customizing the experience for certain projects as well. If a project like Pizza Ninjas comes to us, maybe the category page can be more attuned to like suit that project. So I think that's got to be another edge that we'll have over other competitors, whereas like we're just, as I say, we're just absolutely crazy and we'll do anything.
Nice. All right, that was a conversation with Trio founder Brian, founder of Satoshibles, founder of OrdinalsBot, the first inscription service on Bitcoin, the guy behind the tech side of Runestones and Pizza Ninjas. So many things. I'll catch you in the next one. You've been watching DGen Reports. Ciao.